Whenever I make a video about Britain, British history, British culture, or something happening in Britain today, a certain type of person appears in the comments, like clockwork. The British deserve it. It's karma. Good. Your ancestors did worse. The British are evil. And every time I read those comments, I think the same thing. Do you actually hear yourself? Because what you're really saying is that people alive today should be blamed for things that happened before they were even born. Not because they themselves did those things, not because they supported those things, not because they even had a choice in the matter, but because of who their ancestors were. Think about how warped that logic is. Imagine meeting someone and deciding that they're guilty because of something somebody else did 200 years ago. Imagine looking at a complete stranger and deciding that they deserve suffering because of events they had absolutely no involvement in. Imagine believing that guilt is inherited through bloodlines. I wasn't aware that ancestry had become a criminal offense. And let's be honest, if guilt can be inherited, then so can achievement. Can I claim my ancestors' accomplishments as my own? Can I put them on my CV? Can I demand praise for things that I had absolutely nothing to do with? Of course not. Because we all understand, well, at least most of us understand, that people should be judged on their own actions. Until history, apparently, enters the conversation. Then suddenly, common sense leaves the room. Let's be honest about something else. Every civilization has blood on their hands. The British, the Romans, the Ottomans, the Mongols, the Mughal Empire, the Arab Caliphates, the Spanish, the Portuguese, African kingdoms, Chinese dynasties, Japanese empires. Human history is not a story of saints and sinners. It is the story of human beings. And human beings have spent thousands of years finding inventive ways to conquer, exploit, dominate, and kill each other. Nobody gets a completely clean sheet. Nobody. Yet somehow, some people have convinced themselves that one group of modern people should spend their lives apologizing for history while everyone else gets a pass. Funny how that works. But here's the part that really fascinates me. The same people lecturing everyone else about prejudice will quite happily take the actions of an individual and apply them to an entire nation. A British politician does something corrupt. The British are evil. A British soldier commits a crime. The British are evil. A British criminal commits an atrocity. The British are evil. Really? All of them? Every single British person? The nurse working a night shift? The bus driver getting up at 5 a.m.? The pensioner walking their dog? The child sitting in a classroom? They're all evil because of something somebody else did? That's your argument? Imagine applying that standard to any other group on earth. You wouldn't dare, because you know exactly what it would be called. Collective blame, prejudice, bigotry. Yet somehow, when the target is Britain or British people, some people suddenly decide that those principles no longer matter. The irony is breathtaking. They claim to oppose judging people by things they cannot control. Then they judge people by their nationality. They claim to oppose collective guilt and then assign collective guilt. They claim to oppose prejudice and then engage in it. And then they wonder why nobody takes them seriously. Because this isn't really about history. It's about resentment. Pure resentment. The kind that sits inside people for years. The kind that needs a target. the kind that turns every discussion into an opportunity to settle scores with people who weren't even alive when the original events happened. And resentment is not healthy. It poisons people. It keeps old wounds permanently open. It teaches one generation to see itself as permanent victims and another as permanent villains. It encourages hate between people who have never harmed each other. And for what? What's the end goal? How many apologies are enough? How many generations must pass? What's the expiry date on inherited guilt? Nobody ever answers because there isn't an answer. The truth is, resentment doesn't want a solution. It wants an enemy. History should be studied. History should be remembered. History should be taught honestly. The triumphs, the failures, the achievements, the atrocities, all of it. But history is supposed to teach wisdom, not provide a moral license to hate people who had nothing to do with what happened. We honor the victims of history by remembering them. We dishonor them when we use their suffering as a weapon against innocent people living today. Judge people by what they do. Judge people by how they live. Judge people by the choices they make, not by the actions of people who died centuries before they were even born. Because ancestry is not a criminal record, and inherited guilt is not justice. It's prejudice wearing a moral mask.